So if you had this question to start, you would probably say I should choose the zero product property to solve. The one that we're going to do off to the side looks very similar, but it's going to be 15. And the reason I chose 15 is because if we went to the zero product property, and I'm going to write this above, and I tried to factor it, it would have to be x and x. What makes 15 for the last numbers? There's some options. Tell me one option. 5 and 3. Does outside with 5 and 3 ever make 6? No. Okay, we have to try a different option for 15. 1 and 15. So if I do 1 and 15, does the outside and inside ever make 6 with 1 and 15? No. Is there any other numbers that multiply your times table to 15? No. So you've tried everything, and factoring doesn't work. So there are some questions where we can't factor, and we run into a problem. So what we're going to do is we are going to still want to solve by square rooting by using a technique called completing the square. What we do is we leave a space and I actually take out a different color pen and everything and draw the space. And then we have to use the x squared plus 6x as the hint. Because there's only one thing squared that will give you x squared plus 6x. If you think of it off to the side here, is it pretty obvious that the only way to get x squared would be x and x? So I know this needs an x to give me that x squared. Something has to go in here so that when I multiply it out, my outside and inside make 6. But the something that goes in there has to be the same number because we're squaring it. What possibly could that number be? It would have to be a 3 and a 3. So that outside and inside make 6. And they'd have to be both positive. And they both have to be the same if we're going to write it as something squared. But I have a problem. The x plus 3 squared is x squared plus 6x, but then it has something else. If you multiply that out, what's your last term going to be? A 9. And we don't have a 9. So what we do in that blue space is we say, I'm going to add a 9 in there so that this actually matches up. But in equation solving, you've learned this from a long time ago, that if you add 9 to one side, you have to also add 9 to the other side. Otherwise, the equation doesn't stay equal. Well, what will that do? That will make us get it into the form where now we can use the square rooting strategy. We have a single square root, so I can get rid of that by square rooting both sides. And now I can get x by itself by subtracting 3 on both sides. And the square root of 24 can be reduced, so we do reduce it. X equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 root 6. So we have to use all of the x's as the hint to come up with what is going to be squared. How do we know to use this strategy? Well, our zero product property didn't work. Right? If it says solve and the zero product property doesn't work, this is the alternate strategy. The other way to really easily tell you should use this is is they tell you in the question, you should use this. That's it. Oh, I wonder which technique I should do to solve this question. When it says, by completing the square, that is the strategy we have to use. So our setup, start in black. Start in black, x squared plus 4x. We leave a space, because the x squared and the 4x is going to be what gives us the hint. Then on the other side, we move the 3 over to the other side, and we leave a space on that side as well. Okay. Now, mental math-wise, you have to get really good at squaring things. I know I want x plus something squared, and the hint is that 4x. Obviously, to get an x squared, it has to be an x, right? What could possibly be here? So if you did outside and inside, you got 4. Plus 2. And if you had a plus 2, and you work backwards, what has to be in that blue space? You need a plus 4. And if I add 4 to that side, I have to add 4 to this side. Now this all matches up to give me x plus 2 squared, and the other side is now equal to 7. And now I have a single thing squared. I can use the square root strategy. Square root both sides. I remember the plus or minus. Then to get x by itself, I move the 2 over. 7 cannot be simplified any further. So this is my final answer. So I'll give you some time now to try 5, 8, and 9.